are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, this is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. It means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, working toward the weekend. Got Jacob Beck and Jordan Kitchens back there on the ones and twos. No hat for Beck, which is just fine. Awful hat for Jordan, who's got the Cardinals lid working, and it just looks atrocious. Thankfully, the Cubs did beat the Cardinals in the ninth last night, so it's a little bit more palatable that Jordan would come in here with that on a Friday. We're going to get by it. We're going to get past it. We're going to get you to the finish line of the week here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. In 15 minutes, we'll talk football with Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, LSU. 2 practices in the books. Brian Kelly met with the media yesterday. We'll touch on a little bit of that at 1:30. In the second hour, we'll meet the freshmen. We got Colin Hurley and Weston Davis, a couple guys that I've had a chance to see for 2 days now out on the practice field. Luke Johnson from Irvine, California, talking Saints at 2:30. Usually Luke with us on Thursdays. He decided he was going for a hike yesterday. Didn't let us know. So we tried to call him. That didn't work, but he's available today. So we'll talk to Luke at 2:30, an hour and a half from right this very minute. All right, let's let things roll. And LSU back on the practice field today. Practice number 2. We got abbreviated watching time today. Yesterday, we got to see the entirety of practice. Today, they did half of the work inside. We were not allowed to see that. They came outside for the second half of practice. We got about 25 minutes to watch practice, so a little bit less viewing time. And quite frankly, a lot of it was spent on special teams, and that's not the most fascinating thing to get to. So let me get to what one piece of information I got before we go with special teams. I got a chance to look at the second team offensive line today, and that is not something I had a good handle on prior to yesterday. The first team offensive line, it's thought to be the strongest in the Southeastern Conference, perhaps the strongest in college football. You bring back your tackles in Emory Jones and Will Campbell. Garrett Dellinger's there. Miles Frazier's there. You lose Charles Turner, but DJ Chester plugs in. I told you yesterday about how good I thought DJ Chester looked in some one-on-one drills. I think that offensive line is going to be fantastic. I did not know kind of who was in line at the positions the rest of the way, and I got that information today. It was actually available yesterday, but I was watching more defense. Moscona was more on the offensive side, so I got to look at more offense today. And the second team offensive line is Tyree Adams over on the left tackle. He looks really good. He's long, he's lean, he fits that profile that Brian Kelly likes a lot in his tackles, but really all of his offensive linemen. Paul Mabanga was at left guard. Cohen Eccles is at center. We saw him doing some snapping earlier yesterday in the one-on-one, so I figured they were going to be training him there. The plan right now is for DJ Chester to be the center for a couple of years, and that appears to be going very well at this point. So Eccles kind of looks like he's the next man up there getting some work at the center position. Bo Bordelon was at right guard, and then Weston Davis was at right tackle, the former 5-star recruit who is a true freshman. So, look, this is a group that is going to have to get some seasoning this year in camp, potentially in some mop-up duty. Hopefully there's not significant injuries to the starters, because a lot of these guys are going to be asked to come in and play a lot of snaps next year. There's just no two ways about it. Will Campbell and Emory Jones are probably going to be first-round picks. Garrett Dellinger and Miles Frazier are out of their eligibility. They'll be moving on. There are going to be 4 open spots on the offensive line for LSU entering next year, very likely. So this is kind of the group that they've got to choose from. Now, that's a daunting thing to think about 12 months from right now, that you'd be overhauling your entire offensive line. It goes from a true strength to a question mark. But at this point, I'm kind of at peace trusting Brad Davis with his evaluations on the high school front, his ability to secure commitments and signings, and then his development. We've seen him do an incredible job with Will Campbell and Emory Jones, who are immense talents from the state of Louisiana that were thrust into action very early and have been great their entire time. We've seen him take Garrett Dellinger and develop him over the course of 3 seasons. We saw him take Miles Frazier in from a lower level and developing him into a really strong offensive lineman. And then we really feel like DJ Chester in his second year on campus looks the part of what could be a dominant center for LSU. So I'm going to trust him with Tyree Adams and Paul Mabenga and Cohen Eccles and Bo Bordelon and Weston Davis. I always reference this every single year, and I'm not the best person at the station to do this with because happens to be the guy that I'm going to be talking about. But the 2011 offensive line for LSU on that great team was fantastic. You had Chris Falk, you had Will Blackwell, you had PJ Lonergan, you had over on the right side, you had some really good players that had developed in Alex Hurst, and I'm blanking on the big offensive guard from Alabama that was like 6'7". Doesn't matter. He was fantastic and a really good player and a dominant run blocker on the right side. But you had an injury to all of those guys. And T-Bob and Greg Shaw were ready to go in at any given point when one player went down. If it was a tackle, whether it was Hurst or Falk, you had Greg Shaw ready to go in. If it was either guard or center, T-Bob went in. And those guys were ready to play. And you've got to have at least 8 guys on the offensive line that you trust to play because those guys are big. They're in collision on every play. They're guys getting rolled up on, and you got, it's just a lot that can go wrong at the line of scrimmage, and you've got to have guys ready to go. And this group that I'm telling you about right now hasn't really played at all. You've got true freshmen, you've got redshirt freshmen, you've got guys who are very, very green in their college career, and Brad Davis has got work to do to ramp those guys up. So it's not the sexiest thing to talk about. It's not the biggest headline grabber. You're not going to see any ESPN watch list of who's got the best second-team offensive line. But you've got to have these guys ready to go because I will be very, very pleasantly shocked if LSU plays throughout the entire season with the same 5 offensive linemen. That doesn't happen. So I think that's an interesting thing to pay attention to early in camp. Like, who do they think is that second group? And that's it. We did see some special teams, and I want to briefly touch on that. I gave you 4 names yesterday of guys that were catching some punts right when we got out to the field. I didn't know if that was the prospective punt returners or if those were the guys they were just having shag the punts so the punters could get some work before they went into individual drills. But I saw 4 guys out there doing it. I saw Xavier Thomas, who you would expect to be out there. I saw Kyle Parker, who is a really talented young receiver. I saw Jelani Watkins, who's a speedster that Brian Kelly mentioned in his media days press conferences that surprised me a little bit. And I saw Aaron Anderson, who is profiled as a punt returner since he left Carr, went to Alabama, and came back. Those guys make a lot of sense, but those were the 4 guys that were catching punts yesterday. Well, they actually worked on special teams today while we were out there as far as the punt unit goes. It was not the punt return team that was out there. That was all dummies and red jerseys and stuff, but it was the actual punt team. And the guys catching the punts were the same 4. So that tells me right now they've got 4 guys in mind as the punt returner. I think Xavier Thomas is the runaway favorite to be that guy, and I'm thrilled about it. He did a great job at Mississippi State, and I feel like he's a potential game changer for LSU at punt returner. But the other 3 guys are certainly in that discussion, and I think it's fair to call those 4 the options at punt and kick returner right now. That could change, but right now it's been the same 4 guys in multiple drills for 2 days. Those are what look to be your punt returners. Now, the other piece to that drill is the punting. And you got Peyton Todd, who's been here a couple of years, been waiting in the wings with Jay Bramblett as the actual punter. And then you've got Oxendorf from Louisiana Tech, who was an all-conference punter last year. And if you're an all-conference pass rusher or quarterback in Conference USA, I can question your ability to play in the SEC. That's a big step up. If you're the all-conference punter, I don't think that really changes much. You just got to catch it and kick it. If you kick it 44 yards really high in the Conference USA or the SEC or the NFC South, that's always the same. So it doesn't feel like there should be a big adjustment for Blake Oxendorf. However, and I'm not, a special teams guru, but I can watch punting. It was not good today. It was not good. Peyton Todd was hitting some wobblers that were short. We saw Oxendorf hit a few low-line drives. The only one that I saw that got up in the air, turned over on a spiral, and went a good distance directionally and had some hang time came from Oxendorf once. I probably saw 9 or 10 punts today. I would say they went 1 out of 9 or 10. Now, again, I don't know how serious they were taking that portion of it. Maybe it was just for the gunner unit. But it looked to me like the punting wasn't very good. And the word we got out of spring practice was that, hey, Peyton Todd's struggling a little bit. They may need to address that. And they went and got a punter in the transfer portal. You don't do that if you think that's locked down. So I think that there were some concerns back in the spring about punting, and I would suggest there probably are still some concerns about punting. It's August the 2nd. I'm not going to throw a fit about 10 punts that I saw at practice today. That's really not the point of the segment, but they weren't great. I'll just leave it at that. The other piece that was a little bit interesting to me, because I don't remember this last year. I may have to go back and maybe look at a full game highlight and see. Harold Perkins was a gunner on the punt team today, which I thought was interesting and works out. I mean, he's really fast. He is a good tackler. Usually that's reserved for corners and safeties. Sometimes a really physical wide receiver can get that bill. But the gunners on the first team punt team today were Sage Ryan and Harold Perkins, which I found pretty interesting. Any way that you can use Harold Perkins, I'm for it. And if you're going to punt and take the football and Harold's going to have some time to breathe, I think that's fine to get him to run down there and try to make a tackle. So they're looking to use his versatility and ability any way that they can, whether it's pass rushing, playing in the middle, coverage, rushing the quarterback, or on the gunner on the punt team. I thought that was an interesting little nugget there. So for me, one more piece, no Braden Swinson today as well. No word on why he's out. But again, there can be any number of reasons that you haven't been at the first two practices. Summer school is very much still in play. You can still have classes that you need to attend there. You could be sick. You could have a minor injury. You might have gone home. It could be anything. So I'm not putting a panic button on that at all. But he was not out there again for the second straight day. So those are my thoughts from practice today. We'll get into some Brian Kelly sound coming up here in about 15 minutes about all of that. But Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, they've got you covered for all your practice reports and YouTube videos and whatnot. And he's with us every single Friday. He joins us coming up next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy, EvolvePT.com is the website. Robbie Bolton, 20 years as a physical therapist here in the Baton Rouge area. He's got a fantastic team around him, and they're looking to get active people back to being their active selves. Injuries happen, whether you're out being active, playing sports, or running, or whatever the case may be. Maybe it's a car accident or some kind of accident that you've been in, and you're just looking to get to feeling your best so that you can become active once again. Robbie Bolton and his team are here to help you with that. If you've had a poor physical therapy experience in the past, didn't think there was enough hands-on involvement, just didn't feel like you made the progress you would like, Robbie Bolton and his team will make that happen. They will be with you for the entirety of your appointment. They'll help you with the stretching, the soft tissue manipulation, dry needling, cupping, whatever your injury or discomfort calls for, they will make it happen so that you can get back to the golf course, get back to the pickleball court, get back to running, or if you're a youth athlete, get back on the field. Robbie Bolton and his team work with anybody of any age as long as you're getting back to your active self. They're on Starring near Highland Road. Again, it's on Starring near Highland Road. It's Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, EvolvePT.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
There it is, the extra mile. on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Haniger, join us for the Monday edition of Live at Lunch from Walk-Ons in Brewley. We recap the weekend in the Olympics, and we'll have an LSU football update. And Jimmy's back, Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Monday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Got the Olympics on the TV in here. It's some sort of long 2-man rowing event. We're not even in the final. This is garbage. The United States crew team needs to step it up. See a lot of flags I recognize, and the United States, not one of them. 52 meters to the finish line. Not going to be the Stars and Stripes. Get it together, guys. All right, let's talk some football. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, joins us each and every Friday. Mike Scarborough and the team over there. I got a ton of practice coverage up on YouTube and their site, and Preston's with us each and every Friday in the first hour. Always look forward to our football conversations. And we'll be honest, like there's some times there where there's not a ton of meat on the bone from a football perspective. Like talking about a lot of things that are going to happen in the far future if you're talking about conversations in June and July about football. But once we get to August, like there's actual stuff that we need to discuss and talk about, and we do it a little bit more quickly if Preston was answering the phone, which he's not currently. I do want to remind you about Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, our Friday shows, always brought to you by our friends over at Corks. If you're looking for a late lunch, get on by the location. Government between Foster and Jefferson. You're looking to feed a big group, whether it's a party, maybe you're feeding the office, maybe you've got a tailgate that's coming up, high school football or LSU, game watch party. Corks can do big quantities. They got those big trays of the crispy fried catfish, big trays of the jumbo Gulf shrimp, French fries. You can do pork chops as well. They got fantastic baked potatoes. So give them a call and make sure that you check out Corks for your next catering event. Hush puppies, honey butter rolls, things of that nature. They can certainly help you out. The entire menu is there online at corksfishandshrimp.com. Again, that's corksfishandshrimp.com. Love doing those reads every Friday because Corks is awesome. If you're one of those people that says, look, I'm from South Louisiana, I know fried seafood, I'm not going through a drive-thru for my fried seafood, just give them a try once. They're from right here in South Louisiana. They know what they're doing, and it's a fantastic quick service dining experience over there at Corks, and they bring you our Friday shows each and every week.
Looks like we're having some issues with the phones.
The phones are down.
Yeah, unsurprisingly,
that's a big time bummer for sure.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna keep efforting though.
Please keep efforting, and we'll see if we can get CV on the horn, or Bo, who probably could handle things a little bit more quickly from from a phones perspective. Always a bummer. We'll hopefully catch up with Preston here in 10 minutes or so. I can give you some more information of kind of the things that I've seen and noticed out there at LSU football practice. Size is something that I'm pretty comfortable evaluating when we're out there. I don't know exactly what they're trying to accomplish on offense, and I don't know what the play call is, but I can look at a guy and go, yeah, he looks the part. Looks like he's ready to go. Caden Durham is a guy that I've spent a little time checking out today. They were in the first team offense, was going through some drills, and they went into twos and kind of rotated some guys in and out. And the first group is for sure Josh Williams and Caleb Jackson. Those are the first two guys out there. John Emery was out there as well. And then Caden Durham kind of cleans up the reps at the end there. But he looks like he could be counted on to take some carries. I don't expect to see a ton of Caden Durham this season. Like, I just don't think that there are going to be enough carries to go around for him. We know that the staff implicitly trusts Josh Williams to be where he needs to be, to protect the passer, to catch the football, to run and pick up what's blocked. Like, he's going to be out there a lot. Caleb Jackson is an immense talent and a guy that you watch the highlight reel and you're like, ooh, man, that's a guy they've got to get the football to. And then John Emery has been on campus for 413 years, so he knows the ways of what he's doing out there, and he's a talented back. And Caden Durham's going to be behind those guys, and I just don't think that it's reasonable to expect him to kind of burst onto the scene. But if there were an injury or two, or you're looking at some mop-up duty or games that LSU is going to control against some lower-level teams, like Caden Durham is ready to take some. He just doesn't look skinny out there. He's a little bit shorter than like Emery is or Caleb Jackson is, but he's put together, and we know that he's an elite speed guy. So I'm excited to see a little bit of what he can do when he gets his opportunity. And I don't know that it's going to take that long for him to do that. Deshaun Womack is another guy that I noticed out there. His waistline is really small. Like, he's lean and kind of built like an edge rusher. There's a reason he was a 5-star. He's not carrying a pound of bad weight at all. He really looks the part. I know that he didn't have a monster year last year. It was a lot of Ovie Ogofu. It was a lot of Braden Swinson. It was a lot of Savion Jones. It was a lot of those guys getting the reps, and you've only lost to Ogofu. The other two guys are back, and you figure they're going to factor in. But Womack was running with the ones yesterday, and he looks really good out there in pads. The one guy I saw today that I looked at and I went, oh man, he really needs to put on weight. And this is not like some secret, because it's right there, like in the notes. You're looking at a guy who's listed. Let me find him. Michael Turner, 152. He's 6'1", 152. He looks like he's in high school. And under no circumstance do I think anybody expected Michael Turner to go out there and play right out of the chute. There are a lot of guys at the cornerback spot who are well in front of him on the depth chart, both experienced and basically like by the recruitment. Like, Zy Alexander's a very old player. J.K. Johnson, Jair Brown are older players. P.J. Woodland was more highly thought of in the spring than Michael Turner. Javian Toviano's older. Bernard Causey is another skinny guy. Wallace Foster is another skinny guy. I mean, those freshman DBs look like freshmen. And again, I said this yesterday. So I always want to put the caveat in there based on my experience. Like, I would have said on this radio show, had it existed in 2010 and 2013, 14, that, hey, Tyrann Mathieu was not ready to play as a freshman. He's too skinny. Well, he was. Rashard Robinson's not even close to being ready to play. He's way too skinny. Well, he was. And Rashard Robinson never really even gained any weight when he was at LSU. Then he left the team, and then he played in the NFL, and he looked like he was too skinny to play. That's just the frame and the weight that he carried. But Michael Turner was like, it was noticeable for me to go out there and go, he looks like he's still in high school. And that happens less now than it did 15 years ago. 15, 20 years ago, like, everyone that was a freshman showed up like that. Or the offensive lineman showed up with like bad weight you had to clean up. These guys now take strength and conditioning so seriously in high school that when they get to LSU, like, they already kind of look the part. Like, if you look at Tradez Green, or you look at Gabe Relaford, or you look at Dominic McKinley, like, these got Caden Durham I just mentioned, they look like college football players today. And that's why they're out there pretty quickly. Guys kind of expect to play as freshmen. If they don't, they might jump in the transfer portal and go somewhere else. And a lot of guys expect to be out of the program in 3 years and go to the NFL. And if you show up nowhere near ready to go, like, that doesn't bode well for your chances to turn that around really quickly. So when you go out to practice, like, there are some guys that you absolutely can notice, like, hey, they already look the part, and I think those guys certainly do. I want to briefly talk about tight end as well, because we saw all four guys kind of going, and it's an embarrassment of riches. Like, to have Mason Taylor and then Mac Markway, and then to have Kamorian Pimpton and Trey'Dez Green all right there. Like, that is an absurd amount of talent collected into one group. And it was barren 2 years ago. And now you go out there and it's like, man, Trey'Dez Green already looks the part. And I don't know if there's time to get him on the field. If he's as good as we think he might be, they'll make it work. But, like, I'm not in a hurry to bring Mason Taylor off the field. And, like, Kamorian Pimpton was a big-time get for LSU late in that cycle last year. This is something you could have expected coming with Brian Kelly as the head coach. But to see it now, and you go out there and see that position group work, and you see one guy come in for the next as they're rotating in and out, and you're like, man, they go to the next guy, and the next guy, and it all looks really good. That's encouraging, because that can be a matchup nightmare. And I'm not even close to trying to suggest that position group is ready to be what Brock Bowers was for Georgia. But you understand my drift. Like, that's the kind of matchup nightmare you can create if you've got a really good athlete at that spot. There's just not a great matchup to deal with them. I don't know what defensive player is supposed to match up with Trey'Dez Green. Like, that to me is a difficult assignment. And we know how productive Mason Taylor's been. And I think Kamorian Pimpton is like one tick down athletically from what Trey'Dez Green is, but he's still 6'6" with really long arms, and I think really talented. And Markway's a big physical dude as well, who was a 4-star recruit. So that's offensive line and tight end have done a complete 180 over the 3 years that Brian Kelly has been here. They went from poor depth, potentially poor talent, not ready to produce. That's why Will Campbell and Emory Jones had to go out there as freshmen and play. Same thing with Mason Taylor. To now, like, they got a bunch of dudes out there that are ready to go and ready to play at a really high level at this point. So if you're looking for real strengths and pillars of this LSU football program right now, offensive line and tight end just look really, really, really good at this point. So that's encouraging stuff. That's a lot of LSU football here for the first 30 minutes, and we're not done with LSU football stuff. We're going to talk to Preston Guy. I believe the phones are good. We give you that thumbs up. Phones are good, so we'll pause for a timeout. When we come back, Preston Guy will join us from TigerBait.com. We'll do that next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit LeBair's Baton Rouge Casino this summer for exciting live sports action. LeBair's has got the biggest screens around, and ESPN Bet is live in Louisiana. Plus, Pin Play Rewards members can win up to $500 in pin cash every single week with the new Cover 5 game. So visit pinplaysports.com/Cover 5 today and register for your chance to play and win. If you're not a member, no big deal. Get the Pin Play app today. LeBair's Baton Rouge Casino, your live sports headquarters. Bring your crew for all the action. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. So it's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. The Right Radio Hours return, day 2 of LSU fall camp, and the Saints are back on the practice field. Ton to do, Friday 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Trucking right along here on this Friday. Hope your work week has been a good one. Hopefully it's in the rearview mirror. If not, we'll get you to the finish line here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Talking a lot of football. Got some Saints talk coming up in hour number 2. Luke Johnson's going to join us in an hour from out in Irvine, where it's like 75 degrees. Not 75 degrees at LSU football practice the last couple of days, but the Tigers have made it through. Some brave media have made it through as well, and we got plenty to talk about. Let's do it with Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. Joins us every Friday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Does so now. Preston, how we doing?
Doing good. Man, I'll tell you what, thank God they're making practice in the morning, because I think by mid-afternoon, the players are fine. Those are well-tuned athletes in their peak of their prime. It's us chubby media folks.
Yeah, what are you trying to say about the media? There's plenty of prime athletes out there, I think. Maybe not.
Yeah, like Brandon Taylor and Jacob Hester. Yeah, like 2 of them.
Caldwell was walking around with a taped-up ankle. I said, what happened? He goes, I got cleated by a high schooler. I was like, man, that's a tough break out there at high school football practice. But yeah, there's been some interesting things. I know you've been chewing on some footage and looking at some reports and updates. Is there anything that's grabbed your attention? I've got plenty to talk about, but I thought I'd open it up to you first.
Yeah, first off, the receivers look like some weapons out there. Shelton Sampson probably had the best grab of fall camp so far, and we all know how talented he is. He's just been buried on the depth chart. We're just waiting on him to be consistent and be able to show that more consistently. Kyron Lason's picking up just where he left off. And I guess the good news with it is the DBs have also been making plays. I don't want to say they've been winning out there, but they're showing a pulse. And there were definitely times in spring camp where you didn't feel a pulse from that unit.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, and even dating back to fall camp last year, where it was just an absolute bloodbath, and I feel like we maybe should have paid more attention to that, but we were, I think, a little bit desensitized, like, hey, that's not gonna carry over, and then it very much did in a big way. I mean, how do you feel that that rotation looks right now at receiver? You mentioned Sampson. I still think he's probably running with the 3s at this point, but who are you the most comfortable with at the top?
I feel very comfortable saying Kyron Lacey's your 1, but it's pretty tight. Chris Hilton looks pretty good, too. We know what a deep threat he is. He looks good in that new number, too.
Yeah, 3.
I'm not a big, teens for the receivers guy, I like 80s, and I like single digits, and 3 looks good on him. And C.J. Daniels, I would probably go with those as my top three. But, man, there's just so many guys who could bust into that lineup. Would I be shocked if Xavier Thomas is out there in your top three receivers? No, not even a little bit. Aaron Anderson, that's a guy I could see doing it. Coaches even like Kyle Parker out there. But if you make me bet, I'm gonna go Kyron Lacy, C.J. Daniels, Chris Hilton as my top three.
And those were the first three guys that went with the ones today. They were kind of in Garrett Nussmeier stayed through the entire drive, so it wasn't like all the twos or all the threes came in. They were kind of rotating some guys in and out, especially at running back and wide receiver. Kyle Parker and Xavier Thomas came in kind of with the second group, so it's kind of right there along with you. Kyle Parker may be a little bit of a forgotten man because in that class there was so much talent. You had obviously Shelton Sampson, who was the top of that class, and then a lot of people like Jaylen Brown with his speed, and I think a lot of people may have forgotten about Kyle Parker, but he's back there with the punt returners as well, and he made a nice catch yesterday in the first day of practice. Do you think he could find his way to the field?
Well, I think that all depends on Xavier Thomas and how consistent he is returning the ball. Because as we know, if he locks it down, we know what a dynamic returner he is. I think we all kind of had Aaron Anderson pegged as the same kind of guy last year, transfer portal guy coming in. We knew how he returned kicks at Edna Carr, but here's the deal. Xavier Thomas did it at the college level. He did it in the SEC at Mississippi State. That's a lot different than being a dynamic returner for Edna Carr. Not dogging that at all, because I saw him in person when he was in high school, and he was darn near unstoppable. He basically willed the team on his back against Catholic High when I saw him, and I'm just patiently awaiting him to break out in college. But, I think that on kickoffs and not punt returning if Xavier Thomas locks, but he could get some reps there, and it just all depends. They've had him back there as a kick returner taking practice reps for years now. I could see him definitely getting the spot if Xavier Thomas isn't as good as Bill.
Let's talk about running back briefly here. You've seen all four guys out there and look to be healthy. Josh Williams coming off a little bit of an injury. John Emery's got a brace on, but he's going through every drill and he's participating fully, and he was out there actually with the ones today. We obviously know the talent that Caden Durham has, and Caleb Jackson showed us flashes last year. What is your read on that position right now?
Actually, I was going to say that's probably the one group that's probably looking better than I expected. I talked about how good the receivers are, but I feel like we all kind of expected the receivers to kind of be as good as they're looking. John Emery looks pretty good out there. I'm not going to lie. First off, so glad he didn't roll out there in number 44. What an awful number for a running back.
Not good.
That's what they had him listed in. I'm like, man, that's a walk-on number. What are we doing? But they gave his number 4 to C.J. Daniels when he hit the portal, so you understand it. But yeah, look, he looks good. They're putting him through some hard reps. They're testing out that knee and making sure he is good to go. And I like that. Because we're talking about a guy who has all the talent in the world. He just hasn't quite put it together yet. Who I'm really liking, though? Caleb Jackson. Of course, we've been talking about him for a long time, how much we like him, but he's bulked up. He's heavier than he was. In fact, since he's got on campus, he's up about 30 pounds. But he's moving very well because it's all lean muscle mass. I mean, he's absolutely chiseled. And Caden Durham, I think fans are really going to like what he's bringing to the table. He's an absolute speedster, and he's looking real sharp out there. So across the line for the running backs, I've been very impressed with what I'm seeing.
Let's talk a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. Is there a player or two that's grabbed your attention? You mentioned the DBs at the beginning kind of putting up a fight. I mean, we saw some quality plays. Ashton Stamps came away with a pick yesterday.
Yeah, and I like what I'm seeing out of Juwan Johnson, too. He's putting a lot of fight out there. Really just, across the board, P.J. Woodland's a guy I'm looking forward to seeing what he does because he looks so good in spring.
Here's a question. How about Sage Ryan cross-training at corner and safety? I mean, is that what were your reaction to hearing that yesterday?
Well, yeah, I think, first off, he was your best corner at the end of last year. And guess what? In spring ball, as much as people have written him off, he was really your best DB in spring ball. They're starting him out at corner. I like that because that's where he played last year. But, yeah, he's probably more of a safety build out there playing corner. I like that. I don't think everybody should be trained at every position, but I think having a good senior Swiss Army knife, I think that can help quite a bit.
What's your reaction to Zy Alexander in a big brace and not participating right now? Kelly said he's fully cleared, but he's not out there practicing.
Yeah, I kind of got a feeling. I mean, we saw he was completely sidelined for spring. We saw how bad that injury was. I like that we're not talking about a freshman out there who really needs reps to crack the lineup. Talking about a guy who started every game last year for LSU. He's a senior at this point, and he played a bunch in the Southland Conference for Southeastern. He's got his reps. Don't hurt that knee. Make sure it's stable. And I mean, being completely out of it, for spring and in a boot, like he wasn't even walking. He was kind of walking gingerly. You kind of expected that was going to be a nasty recovery, but at this point, we're talking about. Let's see, was it November? He tore his ACL. So
yes, it was.
I mean, we are talking about 9 months removed now. That's usually clear for most ACL tears. So you hope that they're telling the truth. And yes, he is 100% cleared. They're just taking it easy on him, and I like that. That's a good strategy. There's no reason to risk getting guys banged up in fall camp, especially veteran players. So if it all checks out and it's true and there's not a real injury concern there, I like how they're taking that.
Gio Paez was the first defensive tackle out there with Jacoby and Guillory with the ones yesterday when we saw them kind of go through some 11-on-11 things. Was that what you expected to see?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that Gio Paez was the guy we were looking forward to seeing in the spring. You saw at defensive tackle outside of Jacoby and Guillory, you weren't really getting the reps you wanted. I didn't expect Dominic McKinley to come out and just be starter day one. I don't think very many people had that expectation, but I do think he's a guy who's going to fight for reps and a guy who's going to be out there. But yeah, Gio Paez and Guillory, I think that'll hold up through this season opener. Of course, as the season goes on, those guys are going to have to perform to hold on to their spots. But that's not shocking at all to open up camp with those two.
Who do you think plays more, McKinley or Relaford?
Oh boy. Well, I think LSU's deeper at defensive end than they are at defensive tackle. But Relaford looks so good in the spring. The thing that stood out to me in that spring game, they didn't give him a single rep against Emory Jones or Will Campbell. So I would really like to see what he would do against all SEC type guys like that. I'll go McKinley, even though Relaford showed us more so far. Just because look, if either Paez or Guillory struggle even the slightest, the gate's open for him, right? Whereas, you have a lot of veteran players you need to work out. Talking about the Parashans of the world, the Braden Swinsons, Deshaun Womack. I mean, you got Savion Jones, a lot of veteran guys at the defensive end for to work out before he gets some good reps.
I know that I asked you about Relaford and McKinley, but I'm taking McKinley completely out of this discussion, so this is not a slight at him at all. I'm just purely talking about Relaford. I don't know who the leader of the pack of his fan club is, but I'm near the front. I was really impressed with him in the spring, and then I saw him take some pass rush reps yesterday and absolutely whip some people on his level, some of the younger tackles. To your point that he was not against Campbell or Jones, and that's a different monster, but he looks the part already, and I think he can rush the passer like now.
Yeah, and he dominated in the national circuits. I think the big, the question mark on him is for Acadiana High School against 5A teams, he wasn't just a dominant force. And the big question is, okay, are teams game planning away from him, or was he just struggling against competition? Did he lack explosiveness, right? But then we saw him on the national circuit, and he started just blowing guys up, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe that's just a game planning situation. Here's the deal about defensive tackle. It's actually funny, more so than defensive end. It's harder to evaluate because a lot of guys are just so much bigger than everybody they line up across, and they blow everybody up. And, okay, you're a big guy, but you're standing straight up, and your arms are just twice as long. And, yeah, of course you get a good pass rush on a 5'10" center from wherever, But at the college level, you have to play with leverage. You have to use moves. You have to do a lot of stuff. And that's where my questions start to come in is, how fine-tuned, how refined is he as a player in terms of being able to play with leverage, be explosive, use some good technique and moves, and ultimately when not to be greedy, when to just hog blocks and let your linebackers get it. I mean, there's a lot that's going on there. I would say in many instances, an edge rusher, you can use them as pass rush specialists. You can say, hey, look, man, just go out there and use your speed, get on the edge, and get the quarterback down. And it's more of a one-trick pony at times situationally.
Preston, have an awesome weekend. We'll talk next week.
You too, Hunt. See you soon.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, all your practice reports, YouTube channel, all your recruiting updates as well. He and Mike Scarborough do some great work, and we appreciate Preston joining us each and every Friday here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. We'll take a step aside. Big announcement last night for our station. I'm very much looking forward to all of it. If you missed it, we'll tell you about it again coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux cranked this thing up over 40 years ago. They still have the same phone number and the same address. If you've got the exact same phone number, same address, and you're still open 40 years down the road, you're doing something right, and they certainly are at Boudreaux's Electrical. You can give them a call at 985-397-1562. Boudreaux's Electrical gets you in your Generac home standby generator. Gives you the peace of mind to know when that storm comes through, whether it's a hurricane, there's one down there in the Atlantic and toward the Caribbean right now, you're not going to have to worry about the power going out. You're going to be just fine. If you leave and evacuate, you come back to a house that's powered up, that's cooled off, that's got a fridge and freezer that are working so you don't have to throw everything out. And if you ride it out, then you're going to have power all the way through. Sometimes you just have those afternoon storms that blow through and knock your power out for 2 hours, and it's just a nuisance. Well, if that happens, you don't have a generator, you're in big trouble. And if you work from home, you can't be productive. If you have a generator, you can. And every single Generac generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical comes with a 7 to 10-year warranty. So give them a call, 985-397-1562. Get that Generac home standby generator put at your home today to give yourself the peace of mind to know that power is not going out at your house. It's folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. Check them out online, boudreauxelectrical.com.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless you add Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile.
On Monday's OTB, we'll recap a weekend full of LSU football camp and Saints training camp, plus all of the action from Paris and brand new weekend winners. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Big shout out to those of you that came out to Tallulah at the Renaissance yesterday for After Further Review and the party that we had that immediately followed AFR. It was a great time, great night, a lot of fun, and a great announcement for us here at Guarantee Media. If you missed it yesterday, the announcement was made on Matt's show yesterday that we are in the middle of launching a new arm here of Guarantee Media. We started as a radio station here, 104.5 ESPN 13, 14 years ago. And all it was AFR for 2 hours, 3 to 5. And, of course, we added on the morning show came on, and then there was a lunch show. And we've had a lot of different variations of that, but we've grown into 10 hours daily on a radio side. And it wasn't just radio. We launched, obviously, the YouTube channel, and you can get us on the social media channels and certainly on YouTube each and every day. There's a video component, obviously, that goes with it. And the one piece missing, I guess, from our content generation is written word. And we decided to get into that game. And so we're thrilled to announce the launching of LouisianaSports.net. If you go to LouisianaSports.net right now, you won't find anything because the site is not live just yet. We don't have an exact date for that launch, but it is coming very soon. By the time LSU and USC kick it off in Vegas, we will be live. And certainly by the time the Saints fire things up, we'll be live as well, as that's a week later. I'm really excited to jump into my role as the lead writer for the LSU side of things. I'll be covering LSU football, LSU basketball, LSU baseball, and we'll have a ton of content, written word, coming your way on LouisianaSports.net. Ross Jackson, who's hosted the Locked On Saints podcast, is going to do our Saints work for us. We're fired up about that. Chris Marler, who's formerly of Saturday Down South, where he grew their social media channels and their population a ton over there, is going to work with us on some SEC stories because we feel like the people in this state care a lot about the Southeastern Conference. So Marler's going to help us from the SEC perspective. And we're going to have a lot of great content. We're going to do some newsy things. We're going to do some opinion pieces. We're going to have, obviously, some columns as well. I've got some ideas that we can incorporate our entire station in the written word as well. So we'll do pregame stuff, postgame stuff. We'll repurpose some of the content that we do right here on the station and kind of put that up in written form. I'm excited to kind of get back to my roots. I was a print journalism major at LSU back in 2011 and started my career writing for Bayou Bengals Insider. And that kind of got me into the radio side of things indirectly that way. And I'm excited to get back to it. So we're going to have a lot of content rolling your way. We're already populating the site right now. And when it goes live, it'll be fully functional and ready to go here whenever we do hit that button. And when we have a hard, firm date, we'll let you know when that is. But you can bookmark the site right now, LouisianaSports.net. We are fired up to be presenting that. Nothing changes with our station. We're still going to have OTB with Jacob and T-Bob live at lunch. My show stays the same right here, 1 to 3, and AFR from 3 to 6, just an added portion to this. So it's going to be completely free, no paywall necessary. We're not going to do paywalls here at Guarantee Media. We don't need to do that. So we're not going to. Everything will be completely free. Some of it will be like kind of blog form. Some of it will be long form and opinion pieces. Some of it will be quick hitting things. Like I'm going to go out to baseball practice during the fall and write some reports on that. Like the practice reports from the fall camp are going up. We've got some reports that'll be out from Saints camp as well. So lots and lots of content coming your way, and we're really, really excited about it. And you'll be able to get it all for free over at LouisianaSports.net. So very, very excited to make that announcement yesterday and very excited to make it a reality here coming up very, very soon. We'll let you know as we have more on that here moving forward. So that's it for hour number 1 here on a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Get on by for a late lunch or an early dinner. If you're looking for something to eat this weekend, just get on by Corks. It is so good. Catfish is awesome. They got great po' boys as well. So always enjoy telling you on Fridays about our friends over at Corks. In the first segment of the show today, we talked about practice earlier this morning. I was out there for about 35 minutes, and Took all of that in. Preston Guy was with us from TigerBait.com. If you missed any of it, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can certainly find us. And you can find us on YouTube. Hunt on LSU is our LSU football channel. As we start talking more and more LSU, I'm going to put all that stuff populated onto the Hunt on LSU channel. So subscribe up to it. You'll get all your LSU football content right there on your homepage on YouTube. We certainly appreciate all the help trying to get our content in front of as many people as we possibly can. In hour number 2, we're going to be busy. Got some Brian Kelly sound that we want to play from yesterday. Luke Johnson's going to join us from out in Irvine to talk Saints at 2:30. They've come off the practice field, and there's been a little bit of newsworthy stuff that's going on, so we'll chat with Luke about that coming up in 35 minutes. When we come back, we'll meet the freshmen, Colin Hurley and Weston Davis, a couple of guys who were very, very highly recruited. We'll talk about that. Hope your Friday's going well. Don't go anywhere. We'll pause for SportsCenter and come back with a little bit more. 1 hour to go. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
If you get back up when you fall, you gotta get up. Failure happens to us all.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. So it's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Day 7 at the Olympics is opening day for track and field. American sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson wins her heat race in the 100 meters. The semifinals are tomorrow. Team USA sets a new world record in the 4x400 mixed relay in their heat race. The race for medals is tomorrow. American sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson winning that heat race in the 100 meters. Team USA men's basketball plays its last game in group play tomorrow against Puerto Rico. And head coach Steve Kerr knows a convincing win will earn his team the top seed for the quarterfinals.
We talked to them about it this morning. We showed the standings. We showed the point differential. We want the 1 seed. It gives you the best matchup in the quarterfinals.
Steve Kerr, Kentucky football will spend 2 years on probation and vacate wins after agreeing to a settlement with the NCAA. The school agrees that 11 players got impermissible benefits getting paid for work they didn't do. 8 of those 11 appeared in games.
Here's one stat that's super simple to remember. Discover automatically doubles the cash back on your credit card at the end of your first year with Cash Back Match. With Discover, you could turn $150 cash back to $300. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, final hour of the week here for us, Hunt Palmer Show. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Luke Johnson in 30 minutes talking Saints from out in Irvine. They are off the practice field, and Luke will have some updates for us. Marshawn Lattimore not out there today. Neither was Demario Davis, who left yesterday's workout. So get some updates from Luke on all of that here in 30 minutes from right now. But it's the top of the second hour. Until we're done with freshmen, we got to meet more freshmen.
Meet the freshmen. Freshmen, meet the freshmen. They're the newest Tigers on the team.
Newest Tigers on the team. A couple of them today, both on the offensive side of things. Colin Hurley, first up for Meet the Freshmen on this Friday. Colin Hurley, quarterback from Jacksonville, Florida, 6'1", 213 pounds, and a very interesting story behind Colin Hurley. He committed to LSU in November of 2022, so almost 2 years ago. And he was a sophomore at that point. And he decided he was going to enroll early and forego his senior year. Well, that would put you into college at a young age anyway, but he was already young. So Colin Hurley enrolled at LSU in January at the age of 16. That is something, because I wanted no part of college at 16. I was a junior in high school and could not have made it on my own at that point. I barely made it at 18 2 years later. But at 16, no chance. And Colin Hurley made this decision. Now, when he committed to LSU for his class, he was a very, very, very highly recruited prospect. When he reclassified and joined the group older than him, and significantly older than him, when you go up a grade and you're young for your grade, you're basically being pulled in with guys 2 years older than you. His ranking in that class took a dip. But when he signed, he was between the 16th and 25th ranked quarterback by every site, by On3, by Rivals, by 24/7, by ESPN. And he was a 4-star by everyone's account. But I think a lot of the pomp and circumstance that came with Colin Hurley as a freshman in high school was because he was already like 6'1", and he was already pretty developed and had a pretty good arm, and you figured this could be a 6'3", 6'4 quarterback in 2 years. Like, this is a 5-star kid. And he didn't really grow. He's still 6'1". He's still 215 pounds. He's got a great head on his shoulders. He's fantastic in interviews. And he's obviously got a maturity about him to enroll in college at 16 years old. But he's really, really young. He was an Elite 11 participant. He played in the U.S. Army Bowl. He's got a pretty good skill set, but he's pretty far down on this depth chart. You've got, obviously, Garrett Nussmeier, who's the starter, the guy who's been here the longest. You got A.J. Swan, who started games in the SEC at Vanderbilt. Colin Hurley's now got a year under his belt in the program. And so right now, Colin Hurley Ricky Collins, what I meant, is got a year under his belt. So Colin Hurley is down the food chain a little bit, and he's got some time to develop. He yesterday threw interceptions on consecutive passes. That's going to happen to a guy who's 17 years old, and things are moving faster than they've ever moved before. And there's not really any expectation that Colin Hurley is going to play really early. I'm not in a position right now to forecast what the next 5 years of Colin Hurley's life looks like. That's a position that, quite frankly, has a lot of moving pieces, and a lot of guys move all over the country. I don't think Colin Hurley's going to take a meaningful snap at LSU for some time, and we'll kind of see how things shake out. He was a very highly thought of prospect that was an early commit in Brian Kelly's tenure that Joe Sloan worked really hard to pull in, and I can't think there isn't a prospect that I can think of that has a similar journey to Colin Hurley's based on his age. So right now, he's just trying to adjust to things that are moving as quickly as they ever have, and he's a very, very young player. So not somebody that I think is going to be impactful for LSU in terms of wins and losses for some time, but a guy that's very, very interesting and was a very good quarterback recruit when he committed to LSU. Now he's here in the flesh in the freshman class. The other freshman we're going to talk about is Weston Davis. This is kind of the opposite story, because while Colin Hurley is doing all this stuff early in his life, Weston Davis got to football very late, and I use air quotes there, for a college football player. He did not start playing high school football until he was a sophomore. He didn't play football of any sort until he was a sophomore. You're talking about a 6'6", 310-pound offensive tackle prospect that was rated as a 5-star because he's so athletic. Weston Davis is a hooper. He's a basketball player. He's been a basketball player his whole life. And he just so happened to grow into a frame that is ideal for offensive tackle and not ideal for basketball. 6'6", 310 doesn't work in basketball. That's too short and too big to play in the post at an elite level. But it's perfect to go out there and block some people. So from an athletic perspective, Weston Davis is incredible. On3 rated him as a 5-star prospect, the number 4 offensive tackle in the country. They rated him the number 5 player in all of Texas. He was the number 23 player in the nation coming out of high school. He committed to Texas A&M in June of last year, entering his senior year. And then he flipped to LSU right around Halloween. October the 26th was his flip date. Jimbo Fisher was fired about 2 weeks later, but things were going downhill quickly in College Station. He was a commitment. You could see the writing on the wall. He jumped back off of that, and LSU swooped in and grabbed him. And we think that he's going to be an exceptional player. He's a fantastic prospect. And I can tell you that Weston Davis is already dealing with, working with the second-team offensive line at right tackle. That says a lot to me. There are a number of guys that are not working with the 1s and 2s. They think a lot of Weston Davis. Now, he's raw. This is a guy that needs to get reps. He needs reps in practice, and he needs reps in a big way in the games that hopefully will be mop-up duty early on in the season. LSU does play 2 non-conference games that likely may not allow for mop-up duty with USC and UCLA. I hope there's some mop-up duty against UCLA, but we'll see. He needs reps. There's no question about it. If you're forecasting this guy as the right tackle to take over for Emory Jones, he's going to need to play a little bit because he didn't play a ton in high school. And he hasn't played a lot in his life, and he doesn't figure to play a ton this year. But the talent is immense, and this is where you just got to trust Brad Davis. He's an incredible developer of talent. He's done an awesome job with the guys who were thrust into starting roles this year. Can he do the same with Weston Davis? Well, he's got every tool you need. He's got great feet, great size, great athleticism, great length. Just got to play some more. Yesterday, Gabe Relaford got the best of Weston Davis in a pass rush drill. He's got to continue to do more of that and more of that and more of that, but he's a very, very exciting prospect. So these two guys, very, very different in their routes to LSU, but really highly thought of players. Colin Hurley, quarterback, and Weston Davis, an offensive tackle. Those are the 2 freshmen that we've met here today. We'll keep doing it until we talk about them all. We started this back on Tuesday. We've done Jawan Johnson, Jelani Watkins, Tradez Green, Gabe Relaford, Joel Rogers, P.J. Woodland, Colin Hurley, and Weston Davis. Still got plenty to do. We'll go through August the 15th. That's a Friday. Before we're done. On Monday's show, we'll do Tylen Singleton and Deshaun Spears, a couple of guys on the defensive side of things for our Meet the Freshmen coming up on Monday. All right, I appreciate you hanging out with us here on a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Luke Johnson going to be with us in 15, 20 minutes talking Saints. When we come back, Brian Kelly met with the media after LSU's first practice yesterday. We'll get into some of that sound coming up when we come back.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you're somebody that's just got a closet situation that is untenable, you can fix that. It happened at our old house, our first home Alyssa and I had. We loved it. Great place to bring our first kid home to, but the closet situation sucked. And I would have called David Duvall and his team to figure it out, but we were moving, so we didn't do that. And we actually prioritized closet space in our second home, and it's made all the difference. Alyssa is absolutely thrilled with it. If you've got a great situation where you live, you love the location, love the interest rate, but don't love the closet situation, David Duvall and his team can put you in a custom closet that looks fantastic and fits all of your needs. It starts with a free consultation and then a questionnaire. How many pairs of shoes you got? Are we putting suitcases in here? What's your wardrobe look like? Suits, and what do we need to do? And then he'll put together a custom solution for you. Got all the shelves and racks and lights and drawers and all that kind of thing to get the clutter out of your life. If you're using a flashlight into your closet and can't find anything, you got shoes all over the place, declutter. Get a customized closet from the folks at One Bath and Closet. If you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you, $1,000 off. $1,000 off at One Bath and Closets if you tell them that we sent you over there. David Duvall and his team are thrilled to work with you, and they'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Check them out online. Get that free consultation. See pictures of their great work, satisfied customer testimonials. It's all there at onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless you add Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques, Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the
Hanniger, join us for the Monday edition of Live at Lunch from Walk-Ons in Brewley. We recap the weekend in the Olympics, and we'll have an LSU football update. And Jimmy's back, Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Monday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Volleyball is a crazy event to watch, indoor and outdoor. I'm impressed with the outdoor 2-on-2 Olympians' ability to just dive in the sand, get up, jump, and do it all over again. It's so active and so physical. And then from the indoor perspective, they're just flying through the air at absurd speeds. Men and women are just incredible to watch. This is a men's match that USA is playing. Hopefully they pull it out. I find that's one of my favorite events to watch in the Olympics is indoor volleyball because it's so high intensity, so athletic, and it happens so quickly that it's not like one of those things that's going to lull you to sleep. It's constantly moving. So hopefully USA wins. They're playing Japan in the first set there in the Olympics. It appears that is live, so prime time volleyball over there in Paris. Brian Kelly met with the media yesterday after the first day of practice, and there were some interesting comments that he made that I wanted to kind of dig into here. We'll start with a comment on DJ Chester. I told you yesterday that he had maybe the most impressive rep I saw in the pass rush drills from either the offense or the defense. He absolutely stood Sean Washington up at the point of attack, and I think there's reason to believe he's going to be a really good player. Brian Kelly talked about his new center, DJ Chester.
Seamless transition in that there's four guys. That's the seamless transition because they can really prop up that center position because he's got two guards with him that are going to be able to pick up any issues that he may have in terms of communication. And so that's really our focus, and staying in the present is really getting that center position locked down for us.
We'll see if this bears itself out to be true. But I have a lot of skepticism about a lot of pieces to this LSU team, mostly on the defensive side of the ball. I'm skeptical at DB. I'm skeptical at defensive line. I'm skeptical at punter after what I saw today. Like, there are some things that I think really need to be addressed that concern me. I'm thinking that DJ Chester's going to be an upgrade over Charles Turner. And I thought Charles Turner played well at center. But Chester's bigger. He's more physical. And I'm not trying to boil everything down to one rep I saw yesterday. That's very foolish to think. But just in terms of his profile, he's a very highly recruited player. He's got great size. He's not a freshman anymore. And I just think that with that group around him, that LSU may have upgraded here. And that offensive line could be a real dominant force. I'm curious to see how LSU runs the football. You're going to hear me say this a bunch over the next 4 weeks. When they needed to run the ball last year with the running backs in big games, they couldn't. Daniels bailed him out, and the rushing yards looked fine because he ran for 1,300 or whatever he ran for. That's gone from the offense this year. You got to run the ball behind the offensive line traditionally with the running backs. And maybe Chester makes LSU better at running the football because he's more physical and bigger than Charles Turner was. I'm excited for what DJ Chester brings to this team, and that's a takeaway that I have here early on in camp. The big story for a lot of people yesterday was Sage Ryan working over at cornerback, and Brian Kelly talked about their decision to move him over there for the day as you were kind of looking at some guys off to the side. Toviano couldn't work out. Zay Alexander wasn't working out. So Ryan played corner, and Brian Kelly talked about that.
Yeah, we're cross-training him. You know, we got a lot of work. You know, certainly he played corner for us last year, as you know. We wanted the entire spring to be safety, and now we're going to begin that cross-training. So we feel like he'll become, you know, that one player that can play both positions for us.
That's good to have players that can play both. I talked to Brandon Taylor about this a lot on pre- and post-game for the network. Brandon was a corner when he got brought in. He played some corner early in his career, and they moved him back to safety, and he flourished, and he blossomed there. And I don't know that I expect Sage Ryan to be as good at safety as Brandon Taylor was, but I do think that Sage Ryan has a better chance to be a high-level player at safety as opposed to corner. I just don't know that I loved what he gave LSU at corner last year, and it was probably unfair that he was out there. He was brought in to be a safety, and I talked about the transition for he and Major Burns playing different positions and how I think that's really going to benefit them. And Sage at corner, if that's as good as you've got, like I got a little bit of an issue with that. Not that Sage can't play. We were talking to Preston Guy an hour ago, and Preston said he was the best corner that you had in the spring. And maybe that's the case, but that concerns me a little bit. And I realize that I'm not going to go out there anytime soon over the next 3 weeks and see Patrick Peterson and Morris Claiborne and Tyrann Mathieu and those guys out there right now. It's just they just don't have them. They don't have an All-American corner on the roster, in my opinion, for 2024. That's what I think. If they prove me wrong, awesome. Be thrilled. But I don't think they have that right now. But I just feel like for this team to be the best they can be at defensive back, I think that's Sage Ryan playing some safety and some of the other guys emerging as corners you can really trust. Whether that's Zy Alexander, whether that's Javian Toviano, whether that's P.J. Woodland, whether that's J.K. Johnson or Zaire Brown or whoever, Ashton Stamps, like that to me is the best possible outcome. I'm a little concerned with Sage Ryan playing at cornerback, but we'll see. He's athletic, he's fast, and he's played a lot. Maybe he's making some strides, and that's why they're doing that. I just tend to think they're allotting some time for him at corner in case there are injuries, in case Zy Alexander's not ready to go, or Javian Toviano is not available, or P.J. Woodland proves he can't do it. You need a guy that can go out there and do it, and if you're going to train one guy, that's the guy that makes the most sense. I mean, some of these safeties, they can't play corner. Like Deshaun Spears is not a corner. He's a huge physical safety. He can't do it. Major Burns can't play corner. He's not a corner. Sage at least can do it. So maybe at this point it's just a guy that's doing some cross-training. On the flip side, Sage Ryan's an old player that's played a ton. There's a young player that hasn't played very much, and he got really 2 chances to play last year, and he did not make the most of it. Had 2 big drops in the game against Grambling and really didn't play again, and that was Shelton Sampson. But he did have a big day yesterday.
Well, he certainly looks the part, right? I mean, controls his body really well, has a great deal of confidence. He doesn't look out of place in any shape or form from a physical standpoint, but he's picked things up very well for a guy that has not played this game very long. It's coming to him, I don't want to say easy, but it has not been a very difficult transition for him. And that all bodes well for players that are in their first year.
You can teach guys to get off press coverage. You can teach guys to run more cleaner routes. You can teach all that kind of stuff. You can't teach 6'4". You can't teach verticals. You can strength and condition train and all that kind of stuff, but you either kind of have that inborn athleticism that you can enhance or you don't. And Shelton Sampson has every tool in the toolbox. There's no doubt. That's why he was a 5-star recruit by some services, and he's got a lot of talent. And he's not a guy that's played football his entire life, and he had 2 big opportunities in mop-up time last year, did not capitalize, and really didn't play again after that. Now, there weren't a lot of balls to be caught last year. Malik and Brian Thomas made sure of that, and they caught just about everything. And we'll see how that rotation works out this year and who works their way towards the top. But it feels like Shelton Sampson's 5th, 6th, 7th right now on that depth chart. He's certainly not ahead of Kyron Lacey. I don't think he's ahead of C.J. Daniels. I don't think he's ahead of Chris Hilton. I don't think he's ahead of Xavier Thomas. I don't think he's ahead of Kyle Parker, quite frankly. I think he's probably in that mix with Aaron Anderson down towards the bottom of this list and probably ahead of like Landon Ibieta. But he's got a lot of talent, and that's a guy that you can continue to develop. And he showed some flashes yesterday. Going up high point in footballs, making catches. Unfortunately, he did have to leave practice. Got a little woozy, falling to the ground after a really good catch. But that's a guy who needs to develop because you look up and you're going to be without Kyron Lacey next year. You're going to be without Chris Hilton next year, and you're going to be out C.J. Daniels next year. So there will be plenty of time to graduate up to a lot of playing time early in your career. Well, it'd be after 2 years, but you've got a redshirt season to lean on. So Shelton Sampson is still a guy I think they've got high hopes for. I'm just not sure if that's going to come to fruition this year or not. I'd be thrilled if it did because he's got a lot of ability. But it was good to see him have a really good, strong first day out there in helmets and shoulder pads yesterday. And I've talked a lot, and I may ask Luke this coming up in the next segment, talking Saints, about the backup quarterback situation with New Orleans. Same thing kind of goes for the guys at Baton Rouge. It's not a group that's competing for the starting job. You've got a clear-cut starter, and you've got some guys that are biting for some time as the backup. And we know that LSU has had to lean on its backup quarterback at times over the last couple of seasons. Garrett Nussmeier was asked to come in. when Jaden Daniels got hurt in the SC championship game. And then last year, Jaden Daniels goes out against Alabama and Garrett Nussmeier's got to play. And we know, obviously, Miles Brennan had his injury issues and you needed TJ Finley and Max Johnson to come in. And like guys have gotten hurt over the years. And so it's not ideal, but you've got to have somebody ready to come in. And they have Ricky Collins, who's now been in the program for a year. And then you've got A.J. Swan, who started some games at Vanderbilt. And Brian Kelly kind of talked about those two guys battling out for the second-team quarterback spot.
Doing the little things really, really well. You don't have to be spectacular. We have a really good offensive line. We have, I think, outstanding wide receivers, and we have complementary pieces. Do the little things well. And if you do that, you can win football games if you're called upon. You can't make the colossal mistakes. You've got to be able to do the little things uncommonly well. And if you do that, you're going to find yourself in a position to go in and help us win.
It's a really comfortable ecosystem to put a backup quarterback in if that day comes, because you've got an offensive line that's fantastic, as he mentioned. You've got playmakers out at wide receiver, and you've got some guys that can go at running back. Like, that's as comfortable a spot as you can be in. But here's my take on the backup quarterback spot. I believe most teams, not all, but most teams have a significant drop-off between their starting quarterback and their backups. And I think that applies to LSU. I think that if Garrett Nussmeier were to miss time, that it would be a big step down. A.J. Swan was okay at Vanderbilt in a really bad ecosystem for a quarterback. I don't anticipate that he would come in and light it up. And Ricky Collins, I kind of think the same way. Ricky threw an interception yesterday. I think those guys are not at the level of Garrett Nussmeier. And if Nuss were to go down and miss some time, I think that would be concerning for LSU in a big way. That doesn't make LSU unique in any sense. That is most of the cases around the country. I think LSU last year probably had a pretty good backup quarterback situation in Garrett Nussmeier, but it was a step down from Jaden Daniels. I think the same thing applies this year. If you just drop all that down a little bit, I think that Garrett Nussmeier would struggle to get to Jaden's level from last year. That's fair to say for anybody that was stepping in. And I think those guys that are stepping up are not on Garrett's level. Obviously, that's why he's the starting quarterback in a runaway on this team. So I thought it was interesting, and I think that's a fair point by Brian Kelly. If we do have to go to a backup quarterback, like just do the small things, hand the ball off, check it down, and lean on your offensive line and your playmakers. But hopefully we don't have to have that discussion. We'll just hope as of August 2nd that we don't have to deal with backup quarterback talk, but those two guys battling it out each and every day to try to be that number two guy behind Garrett Nussmeier. To me, if I'm handicapping that race right now, I would say A.J. Swan, a guy who started games in the SEC, would be the clear-cut number two, but Ricky Collins can have a say in that, and we'll just kind of have to see how that shakes out over the course of practice. Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We'll go out west, talk Saints with Luke Johnson coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to a championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Dem Juan Cigar Bar. The Right Radio Hours return, day 2 of LSU fall camp, and the Saints are back on the practice field. Ton to do Friday 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
.104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust are looking for the ultimate tailgate. Snap a picture of your setup and upload it to 1045ESPN.com for a chance to win a $500 Rouse's gift card. Our judges will select a winner on August 29th. It's the ultimate tailgate giveaway from Rouse's Market, Citizens Bank and Trust, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
So I went to LSU football practice yesterday. It was quite toasty. I was trying to take some notes, and my hands were sweating, and I was getting like sweat on the paper, and it was like wilting. So today I brought a towel out to LSU practice to make sure I could dry my hands and my arms to write on a notepad. I don't think Luke's having any of those problems out in Irvine, California. In fact, he went out for a hike yesterday and blew us off. So, Luke, how was your hike?
Look, the hike was great. I was hustling back to try to get into like cell phone range, trying to like desperately text you from other people's phones, and it just wasn't working. So glad you guys are thinking on your feet, and you have Sharif ready to go.
Who was watching TV doing nothing. No, he was doing nothing, watching TV out there on your day off. But I'm glad you enjoyed it, and you're back in action today. I know that a couple of absences, Marshawn Lattimore still not there, and Demario Davis was not active today. What can you tell us about those two guys and maybe the expectation with them?
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I think Lattimore we're a little bit concerned about because I think hip flexors are kind of tough injuries to like really know how long somebody's going to be out. And Demario, I mean, we're working with little information here, but just knowing his history, I'd be surprised if he needed to miss like any significant time. Even if he was out for camp, I'd feel pretty good about him in week 1.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about that. What's been the biggest storyline over the last week? You've been checking them out every day.
Yeah, I think the defense was like really dominant for 2 days before their off day practice, and I think that was. You're looking at it and you're thinking like, okay, is this the defensive like pass rush starting to rediscover some of its groove? Chase Young has looked really, really good, and you're wondering if it's that, or you're wondering if it's the offensive line that is kind of playing up to a lot of people's expectations, which are very low coming into the season. So that was like 2 out of the first 3 days they were in pads. So we were really looking forward to kind of seeing what today looked like after an off day, and the offense gets a little day to lick its wounds and come back and try to respond. And I think they had a really nice day today. They looked good in the red zone. Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler both looked really solid. I think that's really interesting backup quarterback competition they got shaping up there. And I think the run game looks really good, which is, I mean, it's going to be so important for this offense for that to have a big bounce back here. So yeah, a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, kind of depending on your viewpoint. But you got a long time left in this camp to really figure out who they are.
If I were to ask you what has been noticeable as far as offensive changes with the new system being installed, how would you describe that?
Man, it's just like so different looking. The formations are like condensed. It looks a lot like San Francisco when you're watching them on TV. The wide receivers are all kind of bunched up near the line of scrimmage, and then you got a bunch of guys moving before the snap. You got Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed taking snaps in the backfield. You got fullbacks lined up out wide, and then they run plays and they're running this wide zone over and over and over and over again, and then they'll hit the defense with a play action.
I think we lost Luke there. Did it drop? Yeah, it dropped there.
All
right, you're back. I think you cut out there for a second, but we got you back.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I must have written the words play action bootleg in my notebook about 150 times since I started camp. And yeah, I think you could probably count on maybe two hands how often they ran a play action bootleg play last year. 87 total play action attempts. They've in 2003. I think they've already blown way past that in 8 days of training camp practice. So it's going to look very different. Will it be good? I think it still remains to be seen. But it's going to look really, really different.
I have talked to you. I've talked to Sharif. I've talked to Sean Pazand. We've talked to Ross Jackson a good bit. I have not asked really any of y'all about Derek Carr, which is really stupid, but I just have not done that a lot. It's been a lot of Trevor Penning. It's been a lot of backup quarterback, a lot of, okay, what's the offensive line doing? And I haven't talked about Derek Carr. How's Derek Carr looked?
I think it's been up and down. When he's looked good, he's looked really good, and then when he's looked a little rougher, it's like it's been when there's been pressure, and it's kind of the story it was last year, right? So I still think that this scheme is going to bring more out of him, but they really need to make sure that their line is protecting him, because as soon as there's pressure in his face, and we've seen a lot of it since they put pads on, he's a different player. So some of this is like, that's why they're incorporating a lot of the bootleg and the play action stuff, because it kind of gets them off the mark and gets them on the move, and kind of makes things a little bit easier for them. But if they're going to be what they were in the first 6 weeks of last season, where they're letting them get sacked 3, 4, 5 times a game, it's not going to look good. So hit or miss. But I think that the hits have looked really, really good, and you can see how he will be a successful player in this offense. It just needs to be a little bit more consistent as the training camp goes on. And look, I think their defensive ends have looked really, really good in this training camp. Chase Young looks like an absolute monster out there. Carl Granderson looks like he's picked up where he left off. Peyton Turner and Isaiah Foskey, I think, are both improved players. And obviously you've got Cam Jordan out there too. So it's been tough, but I still need to see a little bit more consistency out of him to really think he'll be outstanding in this offense.
I think I would be in the majority in suggesting that if they can't run the ball, they're toast, because their offensive line, I don't think, is going to be able to hold up if you're not able to run the ball, and then you got to get into obvious passing situations, and that's kind of what you're talking about there. So you said the running games looked a little bit better. Two things. How's it looked from an offensive line perspective in the run game, and then what does Alvin Kamara look like?
Both really good. I think they're clearly ahead on the offensive line when it comes to run game. I think I've sat here and talked with my colleague Matt Paris several times where we're just like, that's a big hole. I think they've really taken to this wide zone scheme. I think it makes a lot of sense with the athletes they have on the offensive line to get them out moving and let them use their size and their athleticism to their advantage. And I think Alvin Kamara has looked really quick, man. I was a little worried after the last couple of years, if wondering if he still had the burst there. Wondering if the outside zone stuff and getting on the edge was going to be something he could still do. I think the early signs are yes, it's there. I think he could have a really big year. And I think that's, like you said, and like we've alluded to earlier, it's going to be really, really important for this offense for that to function. Because if they're sitting there on 3rd and 13, it's not going to look as good. And they're not going to have as much stuff in their playbook to go to. I'm really optimistic about the run. Maybe it's not going to be like a top 5 unit in the NFL, right? But it is going to be significantly better than last year, I think.
Do you think this is trending towards a contact agreement with the Saints for Alvin Kamara, or is it too tough to tell?
I think that's really hard to answer because that seems completely dependent on both what Alvin Kamara's expectations are and whether the Saints are willing to commit to a running back who is going to turn 30 years old next year. I just don't know the answer to that. I don't know if Alvin's looking for $12 million a year and he's got like a hard line on that, then probably not. If Alvin's looking for something less, are the Saints saying we want to commit guaranteed money to a player when these are the years where they typically fall off? I don't know. I think that's going to be a mystery, and it wouldn't surprise me if we get to September 8th or whenever they open up the season, and he's on the current contract he's on right now.
Give me a Kendre Miller report, and I'm assuming it's not much news.
Yeah, it's nothing there, and I'll tell you, he picked a really bad year to get hurt in the first 5 minutes of the first practice.
Is he even out there?
Well, we've seen him out there, like when they weren't in pads and they were, everybody's just in shirts and shorts. He was just out there watching from the sidelines, but we haven't seen him do any like rehab work. And since they've gone into pads, he hasn't been spotted. And I think we all felt really optimistic about Kendre Miller coming into this season. He seems to make a lot of sense for this scheme, but he's been sitting out and not participating. And Jordan Mims, he was on the practice squad all last year. We never really got to see him in practice because of that. He looks really good. He looks like a perfect fit for this wide zone scheme. Like you have to have vision and patience and burst. He looks good every day. He does something that you're just like, you're kind of underlining a play in the notebook. It's a bad time for Kendre Miller to be missing practice because I don't know. It's like I'm looking at Jordan Mims and I'm like, how do you not keep him on the team? I think he's been clearly their second best runner behind Alvin since they opened training camp.
We'll have a preseason game to look forward to next week. Have a great weekend, Luke, and we'll talk next week.
Yeah, I'll try not to go hiking when we talk next week.
All good. We'll talk then. See you, man.
See ya.
Is Luke Johnson with The Advocate at by Luke Johnson for all your Saints information. He's out west with them, and I'm with him. Like every day that Kendre Miller's not out there, it's like, man, you are real replaceable real fast. And if you cannot get back on the field, you will be replaced because running backs are growing on trees. Like you can go get a running back, and the Saints believe in him and they invested in him, and he's not available, and they can move on pretty quick. He's cheap and expendable, and it's just not a good deal for Kendre Miller. I felt like based on what they were doing when he quote unquote got hurt, where they were not even in pads, it's like that he's going to be back pretty quick. And now we're a week and a half later, and it's like, dude, where is he? He's not even out there. That is not good. And then when you've got guys that are producing in your stead as you're in the hot tub and in the training room, it's bad situation for Kendre Miller right now. We'll just kind of see. So that's your look at the Saints. If you're looking for Saints content, you can find it on YouTube. Hunt on Saints is our Saints YouTube channel. All the Saints content cut up into digestible 10, 15-minute segments. You can find it there on YouTube. On your homepage, you subscribe up to the channel. So we certainly appreciate Luke for jumping in from California. We've had a lot of different voices from out there in California. He mentioned Matthew Paris, Luke, Sean Fazan, Sharif. We've kind of run the gamut from out there in Irvine, and it's been great. Appreciate those guys for giving us a little bit of time here on whatever day it is we decide to ring them up. We'll take one more time out, come back and close up shop for the week. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com. Tell you about audio. You can do music and your surround sound and all that, AVSS can handle it. Tell you about video, your home entertainment system, and your home viewing experience, they can handle that. But security is probably the most important thing that they do. And certainly the most important thing that you've got. You've got your family and your home. Got to keep those safe. And the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions can help you with that. They can install cameras, help you with your alarm system. We've got an app on our phones where we can disarm and arm the alarm remotely. We can also check out the cameras that are looking at our front and back door 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can pause, we can rewind. No cloud storage fees that we have to deal with, and the picture is fantastic. I've had cameras at both of my homes, but AVSS didn't handle the ones at the previous place we were, and the picture wasn't quite as good. This is absolutely perfect picture on your phone. So if you're looking to get a security system at your home, I highly, highly recommend dealing with Mitchell Fisher and the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. AVSS_BR is where you can find them on Instagram. Online, it's avssla.com. Or give Mitchell Fisher a call. He's the owner of the company. 225, obviously the area code, 439-7920. Again, it's 439-7920. Or check them out online, avssla.com.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscone. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756.
On Monday's OTB, we'll recap a weekend full of LSU football camp and Saints training camp, plus all of the action from Paris and brand new weekend winners. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Rev delivers our coverage live from Las Vegas starting Friday, August 30th with Off the Bench and After further review, and continuing Sunday, September 1st with Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Our coverage is also presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Watch us live on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel. Kick off the 2024 LSU football season live from Las Vegas with Rev 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
LSU baseball made an announcement today over at LSUsports.net. They are, we know that they have taken the bullpens off the field at the box, and they are going to extend the seating area out towards the foul line where the bullpens were. And they're going to make that premium seating. They've got some ability to sit there, and there's like a table-style thing in front of you that goes the length of the row. And they've got a wait staff that's going to wait on you there, and there are going to be some ice chests that are permanently installed to hold some cold pops down there. So I'm efforting some people over at LSU to come on and talk about that on Thursday.
How do you feel about that?
I'm good with it. Like, they're the worst viewing angle in the ballpark. Like that, those are the worst seats to watch baseball from. But if you can enhance them to make them a desirable seating location, I'm good with it. I don't know how many wait staff are there or what the food options are or whatever, but it looks like be a comfortable seating area. Yeah. It's just, I mean, there's nothing you could put there that would make it a good place to watch the game from. So the best you can do with it is that. I'm good with it, and I know that Jay Johnson's fired up to move those bullpen mounds because they're just a hazard to the left and right fielders. So
yeah,
I'm good with it.
I mean, I wonder if it does kind of compromise the feel of the ballpark, you know, with waiters walking around. Like if it's like a nice looking area, like right there by the dugouts. I don't know. It just seems like it may.
I'm in on premium seating and cool stuff like that. I think that's the best way to get people to the ballpark now, and to get people to the stadium now, and to get people into the arena now. People just don't want to pay as much to go sit in standard seats like they did 50 years ago when everything's on TV and there are better options available. So I think there are some places to sit in Outback Stadium that just aren't that comfortable, and to make one that is, I think is a good thing. So I'm all for it. We'll try to see if we can talk to somebody from LSU coming up on Monday's show. All right, take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. The ACC made a tweet yesterday claiming Katie Ledecky as an ACC athlete after she won her U.S. women's record 13th medal. Ledecky graduated from Stanford in 2021. Take it or leave it.
I mean, Roger Clemens, SEC legend. You got to love that.
Apparently so.
I mean, you got to absolutely love that. I'm all about, obviously there was a time where
Kevin Durant
was balling as an SEC legend. You got Blake Griffin right there with him as well. You've got some great players in SEC history. No, that's stupid. It's a stupid tweet. It's a stupid thing to say. I get the fact that Stanford's now in the ACC, but that's stupid.
Yeah. Moving on, the U.S. currently leads the overall medal count in the Paris Olympics with 42. France is a distant second with 33. We're the best. Take it or leave it.
I got to leave it right now because we're not winning the gold medal count. You have to win the medal count total, and you got to win the gold count too. And China's got us there. So we've got to, I feel like, and this is not a stretch, I feel like we're going to do pretty well in track and field, and I don't know if that's the Chinese strength.
It's definitely not.
So I feel like, now I don't know what other medals there are to have.
There's still some more.
Plenty in the second week, I'm sure. But I feel like we're going to do well in track and field, and I don't know if the Chinese are going to do as well there. I don't know how much of the shooting and the martial arts have been done, and I know they're going to do really well in that. So you got to catch them. I want the medal count, and I want the gold count. I don't really care about silver and bronze. We'll just kind of loop all this together. You got to have the most medals, and you got to have the most golds. And right now, China's got it, so we got to step it up.
Well, hopefully we can get another gold through golf. Xander Schauffele playing really well right now.
Cloth and Nuss. I got a chance to get us a gold as well.
Yeah. Scotty's still in there, too, for golf, so got a couple chances there for a gold. Moving on a little bit more golf here, Phil Mickelson is giving away a chance to play 18 holes with him at the Live Chicago event. Golf in your favorite city with a 5-time major champ. Take it or leave it.
My instinct was to leave it.
I can't believe this. I can't believe this, Hunt.
I'm going to take it.
You're a hypocrite,
Hunt. Because I'm going to take it.
You're such a hypocrite.
Because I have to talk to him about this. I have to tell him I am so disappointed in Phil Mickelson. Like, so disappointed in him. I think his view of this entire thing is so warped. But I also know, having read a book on Phil Mickelson and seen enough of him over the years in press conferences, to know that he knows in his mind that he's right. And I want him to explain to me why this is good, because it's terrible to me. So I would want to take that opportunity, because I know he would have the discussion. I want to have the discussion of why you think it's awesome to rip golf in half. And I know that his answer in in totality is to make the golfers richer, which none of us care about. But that's what he thinks needs to happen. So I would take the opportunity. My gut was to say no, I wouldn't do it. Now I have to do it so I can have the conversation with him. I don't care to have a discussion with Dustin Johnson. I don't care to have a discussion with Ian Poulter. I know what they're doing. I need to talk to Phil.
And you get to go to a Cubs game, too. So.
Very much so. I would love to go to a Cubs game as well. And I know that Phil is dying to talk to me. So
yeah, of course, I'm sure.
He would want to. Actually, I say that in tongue-in-cheek. He actually would want to tell me why he's right because he always wants to tell everyone why
he does
he's
like
right.
to do that. He enjoys that.
We'd like to do that. All right, that's it for us this week. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand. A ton of LSU practice report talk and Ed Preston Guy talking LSU, Luke Johnson talking Saints. We're all into football these days, so if you miss any of the show, we always invite you to go check it out. Check out the 2 YouTube channels, Hunt on LSU and Hunt on Saints. We're back Monday, same time, same place. Matt's going to drive you home. Have a great weekend.